We're very pleased that he has a great legal team working with him in Montenegro, and of course they will be, first of all, looking to go to the High Court in order to have him released on bail. We were obviously very concerned that he was taken immediately into custody and is being held in custody over the Easter weekend. So obviously we are concerned about that, and he should be on bail. In terms of the strategy, obviously this is going to be something that we will have to discuss with Dr. Knežević and his Montenegrin lawyers, and we will be dealing with that over the coming days and weeks. But certainly we had already approached the European Court of Human Rights prior to his extradition being ordered. And so that process will be continued, and we are also looking and have been in discussions with the United Nations Working Group on Arbitrary Detention if Dr. Knežević is continued to be detained whilst the process is ongoing. So that, from one side, is what we will continue to do. We are also discussing with a number of internationally recognized groups to ensure that the trial is monitored so that we can be satisfied that the process is transparent and the process is fair. Of course, we do have very real concerns over the entire process because as this was, the case is brought against Dr. Knežević, and even the extradition request was made by Milivoj Katnić, who is now in prison himself, and also Sasha Čađanović, one of his deputies, who was also involved in the case, who's also in custody, facing very serious charges. You know, the fact that the prosecutor who brought this case and sought his extradition has been arrested on allegations of abuse of office, effectively prosecutorial misconduct, and forming an organized crime group, some of the most serious charges a person could face, it of course undermines the legitimacy of the process. And so we will of course be arguing that this matter should not go forward because of that. And then another point that I would raise is that we're obviously disappointed with the speed in which this process, his return to Montenegro was managed, because we were already in discussions for his voluntary surrender, his voluntary return to Montenegro to face these quite ludicrous charges. And of course, those discussions were ongoing. Dr. Knežević was very clear that he maintains his innocence in these matters and wanted to contest the charges, and was quite prepared to do that voluntarily, but there had to be particular measures in place for his security. And we are, of course, concerned that now he's in custody, there is a real risk as to his personal safety, which the state of Montenegro will have to ensure that he is protected, because if anything was to happen to him, that would fall on the responsibility of the state of Montenegro and effectively the UK authorities, because we raised these, or his legal team had raised these concerns as to his security in the extradition process. So of course, our first point is we want to see him released. We want to ensure that whilst he's in Montenegro fighting these charges, that he will be, that his security will be properly maintained, and that we will have a fair opportunity for his defence team to challenge what is considered to be quite ludicrous charges. Well, look, first of all, I would say very clearly that when the initial warrant for Dr. Knežević was sent out through Interpol, we challenged that process and received a damning decision. I mean, a damning to the Montenegrin state, a decision saying that the case against him was politically motivated. And so even Interpol has expressed concerns as to whether this is a politically motivated process or not. Of course, there have been concerns raised over the politicization of the judiciary, and as we know, that endemic corruption is something that the state of Montenegro has had to deal with for some time, and certainly the new government, since it's been in place, has had to address this. But of course, there are still elements, as we see from the Freedom House report, there are still elements within the judicial system that raise real concerns, which is one of the reasons why we would or we are pushing for it to be monitored by an internationally recognized trial monitoring body. So to ensure that that process is fair. Now, of course, we fully expect the Montenegrin system to ensure that Dr. Knežević has a fair trial. That is the absolute minimum that we expect from them. But obviously we do have concerns, and that's why we continue to push in the European Court of Human Rights, and we will push with the UN treaty body mandate holders, such as the Working Group on Arbitrary Detention, because we want to make sure that whatever process is taken forward is fair and in accordance with the law, that it is not a politically influenced process. But of course, yes, we do have concerns, and we will be addressing those concerns over the coming days and weeks. So I had anticipated, I had planned to come to Montenegro this week straight away, but because of the Easter weekend, I wasn't able to have a legal visit with Dr. Knežević, but certainly we do anticipate coming next week.